Are you tired of feeling like there's never enough time in your classroom? What if I told you that you could revolutionize the way you manage your class time, making every minute count twice as much? Sounds too good to be true? It's not. Today, I'm going to unveil some groundbreaking strategies that are not just theories, but proven methods that have transformed classrooms around the globe. We're talking about real changes that bring real results. So, buckle up because these tactics are about to make your teaching life a whole lot easier and more effective. Let's dive in and turn the tide against the clock. Welcome to Immediate Immersion Live. My name is Scott, and you're watching Immediate Immersion Live, where we're all about comprehension-based instruction in the modern language classroom. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. And welcome back. How's everybody doing today? Go ahead and let me know in the comments how you're doing today, where you're from. And if you're watching this live, go ahead and type in hashtag live. And if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and type in hashtag replay. And if you are watching on the replay, please let me know if there's a better time and day that you can participate live. We're trying to get as many people live as possible. Got a few housekeeping things I just want to cover before we get started. If you don't know, we already have our Comprehended Conference is already up and going, but it's not too late to register. You can register at comprehended.co/register. You can register for 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, or a 12-month pass that starts from the date that you register, since we've already started at this point. The main conference goes through the end of May, but as I said, if you've purchased a pass that goes beyond that, you can continue watching up through that. And what's great, it's PD in your PJs. You can watch whenever and wherever you are. I know people watch it while they're on the treadmill at the gym. I know other people who watch it in their PJs at home, and it's very convenient. We've got new sessions coming from La Maestra Loca, which will be updating pretty soon. We also have a couple other sessions we'll be updating as well as the conference goes. So take advantage and register today if you're not already registered. Okay, with that, now that our housekeeping is over, let's go ahead and get started with today's content. Today, we are talking about time-saving techniques in the classroom. And a lot of this is because you set up different procedures and strategies from the get-go so that you are not wasting any class time thinking what comes next. And so the first thing I want to talk about are warm-ups, your pre-class warm-up routine. Now, the concept here is to start each class with a self-guided, engaging activity that students can begin immediately upon entering the classroom. And the reason this works so well is because it utilizes the often wasted first few minutes while you're setting up waiting for latecomers. So I don't know about you, but I go outside my classroom and I welcome all my students in. And then up on my screen, I have projected from one of my slides their warm-up activity, whatever it might be for that day. And instead of kids like mingling around, socializing with each other, digging through their backpacks to find this or that, checking their cell phones, texting their friends, they have a task that they know they need to get ready and get started on. So those few minutes, like once the bell rings, I don't want them to start right then looking for all the stuff that they need to get the activity done, because that wastes time. So by my having that activity posted up right at the top, it allows my students to get started on it right away, and we reduce the amount of time that is wasted in class. And I forgot what I was going to say. There's something I was going to say, and I forgot what it was. So I have different activities. I'm going to talk about some different activities that you can do, but here are my main activities. I have silent reading, where I want kids to start their book in silent read. I have a quick quiz. It could be on Kahoot. It could be, a quick little one on a slideshow, however you want to do it, that just kind of reviews the things that we've covered that we're working on. So we've got that. I also have reflections that I do commonplace. So those are some common ones that I have, and we'll talk about some different ones in just a moment here. But you want to have these things ready to go so kids are starting right away. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. So I use something called Class Dojo, if you're not familiar. It's a way to like keep track of participation points, and then students can use them to buy privileges and prizes. And it's a digital. So it's a website that my kids can access and see, but it's also on my mobile phone. So when I am, walking around the classroom, I can open the app and I can just tap on a student and give them points as needed. Some of the things I do to help promote this no waste of time at the beginning of the classroom is when they're doing their warm up, I have to take my attendance every period. So everybody who's here on time gets a Class Dojo point. And then everybody who's engaged and has already started on their warm-up also. So they could potentially get 2 points in the first 5 minutes of class by being on time and getting right to work on the warm-up of the day. So it's a way to promote this and let them know that I don't want to waste any class time. So here are a couple things. So first, you want to design daily prompts. Ahead of each class, craft engaging conversation starters or questions related to the recent lessons. That's like my little quiz I do, or cultural aspects of whatever language that you're teaching. This keeps the content fresh and relevant. So I don't know about you, but I create my lesson plans a full week in advance. So I already know what I'm doing Monday through Friday of the next week before I leave for the weekend. I know some teachers, this would stress me out, are planning that morning what they're doing during class, and I can't do that. I've got to have my lessons done there. It doesn't mean I don't adapt and change. If something's going really smoothly and we're getting through stuff more quickly, I'll have to add some stuff in. If things are not going as smoothly, I may have to postpone some things to the following week. But I have at least a game plan. So I can design these daily prompts in advance and have them all ready on my slide deck, because I make one slide deck per week. And I divide it into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then within each of those days, I have the different activities that we're doing. Anything that I need to remind my students for, any announcements I need to make from the school, any of that kind of stuff is put in the slides to remind me what I'm doing next. So I always know I just have to click the next slide and it reminds me, and it moves us smoothly through the class, which is another time-saving technique. I don't have to think about it. I already thought about it during the lesson planning stages, and I don't have to create an agenda on my board to follow. That's what I used to do, and then I would forget to look, and then I'd forget where I was, and I'd waste time. So here I just click the next slide because I've already planned it out. So design those daily prompts. I know Mondays we have conversation days, so I have the conversation up there. I have the question, and then for my lower level students, I will have kind of like sentence starters on how to answer that question, and then they can use their own choices in there. And my questions are what I call crazy convo starters. They are not your run-of-the-mill questions because I don't want my kids to memorize phrases. I want them to be able to speak spontaneously, so they don't know what I'm going to ask. I could ask, how many sloths can fit in their bedroom, or how many hydro flasks can fit in the gym, or how many chickens would it take to kill an elephant? Those types of things in there. I could ask either or questions for my slower processors, like I could ask, do you prefer hot dogs or hamburgers, Coke or Pepsi, water or soft drinks? All these types of things that I can ask, but they're always off the cuff, and so my students never know what to expect, and that gets them always thinking in the target language. Next is peer interaction. So you want to encourage your students to pair up or form small groups to discuss the prompt. This fosters a collaborative learning environment right from the start. So if I have my crazy convo prompts up there to help get them warmed up, I could have them talk to their partner and talk it out with them, answer their question for their partner in there. If we're doing a discussion about maybe a novel that we're reading, I could put up a couple of questions to think about, to talk about with their neighbor before we get started as a little bit of a warm up. And lastly is our share and reflect. So after a few minutes, bring the class back together and have a few volunteers share their thoughts. This is like that think, pair, share type activity. This not only practices the speaking skills, but also builds a community where everybody's voice is valued. And that's one thing that I'm really big on, is building this community. I want everybody to be a part of a community, and that we have a community within our classroom. I like to call it like we're a family who can't always eat dinner at the same time, because I have 6 out of 7 classes. But I bring in experiences and everybody knows what's going on in other classes because we're one big family. And that makes for a very safe environment for all of us to learn and acquire language together. Again, I want to remind you, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, go ahead and put them in the comments. I go back and check. And I know we get a lot more views on the replays than we do live. And I'm assuming it's because this is not a good time for you. Let me know in the comments what is a good time, and we can look and see if we can make some changes. Okay, let's move on to our second topic. And we'll go there. And that is brain breaks. So our concept here is to integrate short, structured breaks that involve physical movement or a change in cognitive focus. Now, a lot of people think that this is a waste of time. If you're taking, 2 to 5 minutes out of class to do these brain breaks, that's 5 minutes wasted of class. But I'm going to counter that. It's better to take that time out to let the brain refocus than to let kids continue to drown out. Let's say they're starting to drown out 15 minutes out of a 45-minute period. If you don't bring them back, then they're not just going to be gone for that 3 to 5 minutes. They're going to be gone for that whole time, the rest of the class period, 30 whole minutes. Now, the queen of brain breaks is La Maestra Loca, Annabelle Williamson. So if you haven't met her yet, either virtually or in person, go to lamaestra.com. I'll put it here in the chat. Oops, if I can type. lamaestraloca.com. She is absolutely amazing. She's got a web YouTube site that talks about all of her brain breaks and games that she does. So if you want to learn some more, that's the expert that I would highly recommend that you see. I'll put the link up here on the screen so everybody can see it. There it is, La Maestra Loca. Okay, she is amazing. So why does this work? Well, it keeps students' energy levels up, and it allows them to refocus, improving attention span for the following activity. So it's kind of a disruptor. So if they're kind of snoozing out, it wakes them back up, refocuses them, re-energizes them, and brings them back for the content. And it's a great way to re-energize them. My old principal used to call this Bob time, blood out of butt time, because we want to get them up out of their seats. We want to get them moving. We want to get that blood flowing and then get them back down. But again, it's not very long. It's 2 to 5 minutes max for this. Now, when I had block periods, I would do this in the middle of my block period, and I might take 10 minutes out in lieu of like, let's all take a potty break now, or a little bit of a break, because kids can't sit for 90 minutes. They just can't. Think about college when we had those 2-hour or 3-hour session classes. It was hard for us to sit. Now picture this with elementary or middle or even high school students. It's just not easy for them to sit for that long. The average attention span of students right now is about 10 to 15 minutes. So keep that in mind. So I have 43-minute class periods, so my brain breaks now are 2 to 5 minutes max, and I do one per class period because, you know, I have such short periods. But when we did block, we had 80 some minutes that we did. I would have one brain break in the middle that would be at least 10 minutes, a little bit more involved of a game. But if we needed a brain break on either side of that, that would have been a 2 to 3 minute one. So here, you know, some examples. A quick game of Simon Says in the target language, Hokey Pokey, Silent Ball. All of these kinds of things are really, you know, quick and easy. Hot Potato. Things that we remember from our childhood work really, really well for this. But here's some more specific things. So you can plan diverse activities. You can rotate through a variety of short, engaging activities like Simon Says, stretching exercises, or quick dance moves to a Spanish song, or a French song, or a German song, or a Russian song, or a Mandarin song. This variety keeps it exciting and unpredictable. And some things that I do to kind of go with this, instead of dance moves, I found body percussion videos on YouTube, and it has kids do things like clap and slap their legs and stomp their feet and snap their fingers in rhythm to music. So that works really, really fun. Or one that I learned from La Maestra Loca are Wii Sport obstacle courses. So they're videos of someone playing the Wii Sports obstacle course, and there's a little figure on the screen, and he's got to run, jump this way, jump that way, through the obstacle course. And so I'll put that up there, and then all of us do that at the same time. So that gets us up and moving. These are like short little activities, and you can make these as a little like circuit that the kids kind of have to do. And you can have it done in a really quick way. You could just do like, okay, we're going to rotate every minute, and you're going to do Simon Says with some kids, and then over here, some kids are going to do some stretching exercises. Then over here, they're going to do some dance moves to some music, and then I'm going to go every minute and go, okay, change, 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 and everybody rotates through. And again, we're taking 3 to 5 minutes, so they might only get to 3 or 4 stations before we come back to class. Another idea is student-led segments. Occasionally let students lead the brain break. It gives them a sense of ownership and can bring new creative ideas to the classroom. So I have a little recipe card deck of brain breaks that I use, and I write them on little index cards. And so we can always, when we need a brain break, I even have this as a job. So I have when kids think, when my person who's in charge of my brain breaks thinks that a class needs a brain break, they're looking around, they're seeing the class lag in energy, they'll go to the brain break little recipe box, and they're going to pick out a brain break at random, and we're going to go ahead and do that. And then they will lead that because that's their job for them for that month, because I do jobs on a monthly basis. So this is always fun, and the kids like when it's led by another student. And the last idea for this would be integrate learning. Ensure that these breaks include an element of language learning, whether it's vocabulary, commands, or numbers. It's a break, but it's still learning. So one of the ways I do something called word volleyball. I use a beach ball. We go out. I'm in California, so our school is not encompassed in a building. When you walk out of my classroom, the ceiling is the sky. So there's a quad right outside my room. So we go out there, we make a circle, and then we hit the volleyball. The goal is to keep the volleyball. It's not a volleyball, it's a beach ball. Keep the beach ball up in the air as long as possible. Now, the first time we play this, I have them count in the target language. So for me, that's in Spanish. So they can't hit the ball unless they say the next number in line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If someone hits the ball without saying a number, gameplay is over. What we do is we record the highest number we got per class and have kind of a little competition. After we practice the numbers, the next time we play, I might say, okay, I want animals, or I want food, or I want words starting with the letter B. My rule is when we do that is you can't repeat until there have been 3 different words in a row. So you can say dog, cat, rabbit, and then go back to dog, but you can't say dog, cat, dog. You got to go at least 3 words before you can start repeating again, because I know sometimes kids can't remember a lot of these words, and so that allows, especially my slower processors, to be able to go back. And then I said the goal is to keep that ball up in the air as long as possible. When we're doing the word ones, not the counting, I will keep a timer so I can keep, is it up for 27 seconds? Has it been up for 47 seconds or however long it is? And we'll record that time again, competing with the rest of the classes to see who was able to keep the ball up the longest. It's a really fun little activity. It goes really well, but I've incorporated learning in that as well. Another one is there's a clapping game that we do with like chocolate. I can't remember right now. Choco, la, choco, something like that. I forgot what it is. But we do that with these 4-syllable words. Chocolate, yes, 4-syllable words. We can do it with mariposa. I know in French they do it alligator. So you've got these different words you can do, and that's, again, practicing with the language. There's lots of different things that you can do. Check La Maestra Loca's website, and you can get a whole lot of ideas that also incorporate the language in them. Okay, let's move on to that next topic. So transitions. Oh gosh, transitions are a huge time suck if they're not done properly. My kids know if they're not on their toes, I'm going to leave them behind in a transition. I don't give them time to get stuck or fall behind. There's just no time to do that. So we want to use these transitions between activities as opportunities for quick language practice so that we're not wasting those minutes, like when we got to rearrange desks or set up for an activity or kids got to find a partner, because transitions just waste time. Making them interactive turns a downside into a learning opportunity. I know I observed a teacher who taught in the Apple Valley in Southern California in the high desert, and she taught her kids to count, but to the tunes of the Happy Days song. Now, I can't ever get the rhythm right. I mean, I know the song, I can count, but I can't get it in there. But it's like, the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock rock, that song. And they do like uno, dos, tres. I don't know how the tone goes. I can't put it together, but she does it really well. So whenever there's a transition, the kids start, and they know right away to start singing, counting and singing the song at the same time. So, one thing you can do is when moving from group work to individual work, have students summarize what they've discussed in the target language to the class. So they can just go back and forth or even do it in partners. It really doesn't matter, but it kind of solidifies what we're doing as they're moving to the next transition. The clear thing you need, the main thing you want to do is set clear transition goals. Whether it's summarizing group work or practicing specific vocabulary, have a clear language goal for each transition. So you want to know exactly what's going on, and you want to tell your kids so they know what to expect and what to do so it can get done really quickly. Passing papers is another transition. I time it. I'm like, how fast can we get these papers turned in? Because otherwise it takes a minute or 2, sometimes 3, for them to get up, move to the back of the room, put the papers in the right basket, and then get back to their desk. That's time wasted. I've only got 43 minutes 4 days of the week, and then 1 day of the week I've got 33 minutes. So I've got to really use my time effectively. Another idea is to cue your transitions with visual or audio cues. This could be a specific phrase, a bell, or a music snippet. Signaling it's time to switch gears. It adds structure and anticipation. So I have a Google Assistant in my classroom, and so we're always setting timers with that. So that's one way to do it. So if we're doing an activity and I say, we got 7 minutes to this activity, we set a timer for 7 minutes. When the timer goes off, we transition. But I also have Spotify always at the ready. And so I can play a little snippet of music right away to get them going, and they need to know that when that snippet of music stops, they need to be in position for the next activity. It gets them motivated, gets them going. So I look for short snippets that we use all of the time, and then I cue them up into a playlist on Spotify. And then lastly, reflection and reinforcement. After the transition, briefly discuss what was learned or practiced. This reinforces the language skills exercised during the transition. You can also, if the transition didn't go smoothly, ask your students what went wrong. Was it because they didn't follow the procedure right? Was it because the procedure wasn't clear for them? Was there some other distractions that were going on? Work through that so you can find ways as a team, as a family, as a group, as a community to make time more efficient. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Next, let's talk about exit tickets. I love exit tickets because they give me formative feedback right away. I do mine digitally through Google Forms most of the time, and it works really, really well. If I don't use Google Forms, then I use flip.com if I want something more verbal. But at the end of each class, with a reflective exit ticket activity that reviews the day's content. So I usually ask them a question like, what 3 things did you learn today? Give me one question that you still have about what we did today in class. What would you like to learn next based on what we did in today's class? All these types of things can be done. And it works so well because it reinforces learning from the day. It provides feedback for you and ensures the class ends on a productive note. So an example could be ask students to write a sentence in the target language about what they found most interesting in class that day, collecting them as they leave. So if you do it as a paper activity, then you can collect little slips of paper. I let them go on their devices. Our school is one-to-one with Chromebooks. If they forgot their Chromebook that day, I let them use their phone and they can do a quick Google form. I'll put the QR code right up on the screen. They can answer the questions, get it done, and I get instant feedback right away. And I save paper that way. So a couple of other ideas, diverse question formats. So mix up the exit ticket formats. Some days it could be a sentence, other days a question to answer or a word to describe their mood in the target language. Sometimes it can be multiple choice, sometimes short answer. Sometimes I want a video response. Sometimes I just want an audio response. Sometimes it's about the content of the day. Sometimes it's about what their opinion is or anything like that. Vary it up so they're not doing the same thing every single day, but stuff that's going to give you valuable feedback to help you engage your students better. Next, let's talk about a quick feedback loop. So you can review these exit tickets and address any common questions or themes the next class. So that would be the next day for me. This will show students that their input is valued and directly impacts their learning. So if you're going to ask them for their opinions, then actually listen to their opinions and apply what you can. And if there's some opinion that you can't apply, explain why so they know that you at least acknowledged and read and paid attention to what was going on. And lastly, personal connection. Occasionally relate the exit ticket to students' personal experience or opinions, deepening their emotional connection to the language. So sometimes I will ask an exit ticket asking a personalized question in preparation for the next day's conversation that I want to do. So I could ask them what their favorite ice cream is, what their favorite sport is or favorite activity, their favorite book, their favorite movie, their favorite TV show, about their family, about their friends, their favorite class, their favorite teacher. All of these things I can do so that I'm getting some personalized information from my students and incorporating that into the lesson. So again, they feel like part of a community. We're working together. And then you need to share some information about you too. So if you're talking about favorite ice cream, tell them what your favorite ice cream is, or your favorite movie, or your favorite TV show. All of these kinds of things that we become closer as a community, because that helps us learn so much better. And again, when you have these things in place, you're not wasting any time. I'm not taking the time to review things at the end of the class. The kids are reviewing, they're filling out their exit tickets, and then I can address any issues the following day in a really quick way. Our last topic for today is time chunking. So the concept here is to break the class into dynamic time chunks, varying in length based on the activity type. So I have multiple activities that we do. We have our warm-up, which usually takes less than 5 minutes. We do our song, which depending on the song length is 2 to 4 minutes. We do a word of the day activity, which is 1 to 2 minutes. Then we do our main activity, which is the big chunk of time, which is probably in that 20 to 30 minutes. And then we wrap up with our exit tickets at the end. So you see we've got these different chunks of time. And I do this kind of pattern in the regular way. So my kids know that we are doing our warm-up, our song, our word of the day, our main course, and then our wrap-up every single day. They know this pattern. They don't know necessarily what the main course is going to be, but they know that that pattern is. So they know to get ready. So they know once we're done with the song, they know to get out their composition books to get the word of the day stuff out. They know all of this stuff to get going right away. So the reason this works so well is because it keeps students engaged by preventing monotony and catering to different attention spans. Okay? Kids, we already talked about it. 10 to 15 minutes. That's all you got them for. You've got to be able to change things up. And so that also, by changing the activities frequently, it also keeps me from having to do more than one brain break in a class period, because the change is also a little bit of a break. It snaps them out of what they're doing because they've got to gear up for something new. So an example could be a 15-minute storytelling session followed by a 5-minute group discussion, then a 10-minute independent writing task. So you've got there 30 minutes all broken up, but you've got a 15-minute segment, a 5-minute segment, and then a 10-minute segment. Okay? And for this to work really well, you want to plan a variety of activities. Each chunk should have a distinct focus, like storytelling, group discussion, things like that. And this caters to different learning styles and keeps the energy dynamic. So always think about that. Again, that's where my slide deck comes into play. I've already planned this out the previous week during my lesson planning time. And then I just have to go through the slides, and I know how long things take. And then if I need to keep a little bit more monitor on it, that I will set the Google timer on there to let us know. And when the kids can see the timer counting down, and then when it does go off, it makes an alarm that we all can hear. Now, student-driven choices is a really compelling activity for them. Occasionally, you want to let students choose the activities for some chunks. This builds engagement and gives you insights into what they enjoy or find challenging. So you can incorporate maybe once or twice a week a student choice section. And maybe one of your exit tickets that you do in that previous thing we talked about is you can have them vote on or make suggestions for what to use those 2 student choice chunks for. Obviously, they can't just be for I want to go on my phone and play video games. That's not going to be something that you're going to offer. It's got to be something that actually moves them through the class, that actually helps them acquire language. And then you want to reflect on pacing. So regularly assess if time chunks are effective. Adjust the lengths or the activities based on what students are most engaged with. and that they learn effectively. Some of this you can get from reflections. Remember I told you that's one of the warm-ups I do? I do that on Fridays. One of the questions I can ask them is, what activities do you find most engaging of the ones we've done in class, to get their feedback? And then you can employ more of that if needed. So there you have it. Those are 5 different ways that you can really maximize your classroom time to get maximized class language acquisition. Again, if you're watching this on the replay, type in #replay and let me know what time and what day works best for the lives, so we can get more people to come live and not watch it always on the replay. I get quite a few replay watches, but I really want to focus on the live so we can all engage and build that community together. And just a reminder, if you haven't already and you're interested in upping your professional development, register for our annual conference. It's every spring, starting usually mid-February and goes through the end of May. That's the 3-month period. But again, if you purchase early and you only do 3 months, it starts when the conference opens and it ends when the conference ends at the end of that 3 months. But if you purchase later, like now when it's already started, your 3-month, your 6-month, your 9-month, or your 12-month pass starts on the day that you register. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you can go to comprehended.co/register and register for that. And if there's nothing else, I'll go ahead and say goodbye for today. We will talk next week, same time, same channel. Have a great one, everybody.